It's Waxing Lyrical, baby.
Hello, Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical with Mains and Dutch. I'm your host, Mains, my colleague, a man who never has a soggy bottom base on his biscuit. It's Mr. Neil Dutton. How are we, Neil?
Never a truer statement has been uttered on this show.
As you can tell, it's Gubbo time in the UK, so this is being recorded Tuesday, August 28th, 20 past 9, a bit late than our usual recording time, as we had to get our Great British Bake Off fix well and truly on.
Yorkshire Bake Off.
Like it was the Great Yorkshire Bake Off, indeed. You know, in your first challenge when there's white roses everywhere, I've already rolled my eyes. I'm going to be sending a synopsis of the show to Ray Summerlin later on. Also some game film of the Miami Dolphins, who he seems to believe are going to be good. So I think Ray may have lost the plot today.
The one worry for me, of course, is that it was the Great British Bake Off, and spoiler alert, the star baker was French.
Yeah, they've even invaded. Tell you, the Brexiteers will not be standing for that, Neil.
No, oh.
Absolutely. And the second best guy was born in Bengal, I believe. So it kind of sums it all up. Brexit not happy with Great British Bake Off. Me and Neil ecstatic. However,
the comments to the editor for the Mail tomorrow will be ecstatic.
I tell you, big time. Although we're not here, obviously, to talk about Great British Bake Off. That's our other podcast coming out later this year.
Yeah.
This podcast is the NFL, and we are in the final straight talking our divisional preview. Lucky, really, as the season starts next week. That would have been really bad timing if we hadn't planned this very well. This week, final week, last, and we would usually say no means least, but we've seen the teams. It's the NFC West. As Neil said to me, pardon my language, a low-key shit division. So what we're going to do now, usual fare, final time, we're going to look at the teams change. We're going to ask one big question from each team. Neil, Yahoo's own, will give us his fancy breakout and fancy broke. We'll then look at the win total for that team, home road splits, and see whether they are champs or chumps. Nearly ready to finally wrap this thing up.
Let's do this.
First team, obviously, the Arizona Cardinals. Change, ins. Everybody's favourite passing accuracy guru, Sam Bradford. Justin Pugh, Andre Smith, and another quarterback, Josh Rosen, quarterback UCLA. Or as most people who are Republican-based, a guy who has an opinion, so obviously doesn't care about the NFL.
Clearly. Damn millennials.
Out, Jared Valdier, Adrian Peterson, and Tyrann Mathieu.
And Bruce Arians.
And Bruce Arians, obviously. Big question, Neil. Is this a team wanting to push for the playoffs with Sam Bradford, or a team that secretly wants to bed the rookie in Josh Rosen?
Can they be both?
Well, that would suggest that Sam Bradford they're 4-2. Sam Bradford gets his standard shoulder injury, and then Josh Rosen plays the next 10 games, and they kind of drift around 8-8.
See, whenever a team brings in a veteran quarterback and then drafts a quarterback high, I think back to what the New York Giants did in 2004 when they drafted Eli, but they signed Kurt Warner as well, and they were 5-4 at the midpoint of the season or past the midpoint. They didn't think they were still in the playoff hunt technically, although the Eagles had already won the division by then, and they just went, this season's we're not going to win the Super Bowl, we're not going to get into the playoffs, turn it over to the kid. Now, if the Cardinals get to 5-4, given how weak this division is, in my opinion, apart from one team that are the class of the division, above all other, I think they would stick with Bradford if he was still playing. If it goes south in a hurry, then we'll see Josh Rosen. Hopefully, it doesn't go south in a hurry because, let's be honest, there's players in the NFL we'd like to see win a Super Bowl, right? For myself, Phil Rivers, something like that. Larry Fitzgerald, it's certainly up there. if this turns into a lost season, you have to question, why did Larry come back?
Yes, absolutely. Larry came back because he's an Arizona Cardinal, and that's what he's supposed to do. He's a wonderful player. He still was very good last year, more than capable in the slot. In theory, he's technically got two quarterbacks right now, which is two more than, with the possible exception of Kurt Warner and Carson Palmer, he's ever had. So I understand why he came back. I look at the team and I don't know what they're like betwixt in between. Do you know what I mean? Did he stick or twist? And I've got an audible feeling they're gonna, be 6-10, and then you haven't really done either. And then you've got to hope that. I suppose you're in the same position as all the other teams with a rookie quarterback. You've got to hope that rookie quarterback is the right pick. And not saying that Rosen is or isn't. I actually liked him. I thought of all of them, he was probably the most talented in terms of what I would like to see. But 50% of them don't work. That, statistically, 50% of them are rubbish. So there's a 50% chance that Josh Rosen isn't very good. What is good is Sam Bradford's agent. So just for those who don't know, I'm sure everyone does. Right now, in 8 seasons in the NFL, Sam Bradford has earned $114 million. If he stays with the Cardinals for the next 2 years, that will jump to $149 million.
He's winning. One area that does concern me, and it's been an area of strength to an extent over the last few years, is their defensive backfield. This is a stat I heard the other day. Patrick Peterson was drafted in 2011, which, by the way, that 2011 draft has contained some absolute worldies, let's be honest. So 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. This is 8th season. This will be the 8th season he will have a different starting cornerback on the other side of the field from him.
It's not good, that.
Last year, Patrick Peterson was exceptional because teams just didn't bother throwing at him because they didn't have to, because there was a hologram at the other side. And now they haven't got, there's no second corner. They've lost the Honey Badger. Dion Buchanan he's a bit banged up. This team's defense is, if Chandler Jones and co don't get there, they're getting torched.
I think this is the issue, Dutton, right? Is that when you have a shutdown corner, quote unquote, the issue is not that player. The issue is who's the other guy. So, if we talked about Jacksonville a couple of weeks ago, and you go, okay, Jalen Ramsey has a chance to be a shutdown corner, so people don't want to throw to him. But the problem is for them, AJ Boye's on the other side, and he's an excellent corner as well. So it becomes an issue, right? If Patrick Peterson has me or you as his other corner, then it doesn't really matter how good Patrick Peterson is, because you're not going to throw at him anyway. It's like that Nnamdi Asomugha thing when he was in Oakland and no one ever threw at him. Yeah, but it didn't really matter because the person next to him wasn't usually any good.
I mean, the only thing you could think of to try and help would be the Belichick, the way he used Revis, was man him up on their second receiver, so then you can give double to the one. But the problem is you're giving double of crap. Whoever it is, it's two not very good players against one, you would assume, very good player. And ultimately, a well-placed pass will always get through against such coverage. So I worry that the way that Larry Fitzgerald's prime has been wasted with inept quarterback play, Patrick Peterson's prime is going to be ruined by inept cornerback play on the other side from him.
Well, I don't know. It's Al Holcomb's issue this year, Dutton, who Steve Wilkes hired. So we'll find out how it goes. Neil, we talk fancy breakout and bust. Who's the breakout on the Arizona Cardinals?
Well, the breakout, especially if Sam Bradford does start for any length of time, because we do know Sam Bradford likes to target his tight end, is Ricky Seals-Jones. Now, he only ran 70 routes last season, but he had 12 receptions on those routes. So that's a very good, as the player profile term is, hog rate, in terms of snap to target ratio. He averaged 16.8 yards per catch. I say it was 12 receptions, 201 yards, 3 touchdowns. They have no real other competition at tight end. He's been running with the ones in pre-season, in camp, and during the games. They really have nothing behind Larry Fitzgerald in the receiving corps that's established. Christian Kirk is quite exciting. Bryce Butler has been nicked up all off-season. Jermaine Gresham, the other tight end, he tore his Achilles in week 17 last season. I don't think he's healthy. As long as Bradford's in there, I think we know. We saw what he did with Kyle Rudolph. We saw what he did with Zach Ertz the last 2 years. He was fully fit. I think Seals Jones is a good bet to see an awful lot of targets. And considering at the moment he's the tight end 26, I think he's someone you should keep an eye on, especially if you don't have to draft him straight away. But as the weeks go on, I think he'll be a streaming contender who has to be an every week starter.
Whose fancy broke on the Cardinals, Neil?
We're in a situation where 32 teams, there's probably 25 quarterbacks that are probably fantasy viable for some degree of time. I don't think Sam Bradford is, because I don't think this offense is very good. The offensive line is terrible, which we spoke of. He doesn't go out and wow teams. And even if he doesn't play, then you've got Josh Rosen coming in, and we don't know what he's going to be like. So I think even if you're going to take quarterbacks super, super late, there's no need to look here.
Win total for the Cardinals is 5.5. They have home games, open day, Washington. They got the Bears, the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Lions. They then have what can only be described as a murderer's row of road games, where they play the Vikings, the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Packers, and the Falcons, who one could argue are 5 of the top 8 or 9 teams in the whole league. Win total is 5.5. Neil, champs or chumps?
Chumps. I think they're going under in that win total. I don't think this is a very good roster. I think Steve Wilks has got his work cut out for him. I just don't think I don't think they're going to do anything. They're going to make much noise.
It's an interesting one because I think you look and you think, oh well, we're saying they're going to be chumps, so therefore they must have a terrible quarterback situation, is what you usually think. And actually, they've got a really solid quarterback situation if Sam Bradford stays fit. They have Larry Fitzgerald. They have David Johnson. They are really talented players. The problem is
no depth.
Yeah, and I think that's Arizona have been like that almost their entire, when they were good, that they had some really, really great players and then no backup to that. And they've lost a few of those great players, or those great players have got older, and there's still no depth. So there's no, the example is always the Patriots, right? Next man up, and there's guys you've never heard of who are making plays. But in most of the teams in the NFL, unfortunately, you don't know the names because they're not very good, and you'll only find out the names when they get burnt. Yep. So I'm probably with you. There's a chance this team's really bad, like 3-13, 4-12 bad. I wish they weren't, but that's not my I can't make them any better than they're going to be, unfortunately.
No.
Next team, Neil, the Los Angeles Rams. Hype train alert. The change ins. Brandon Cooks, Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters, and then Ndamukong Suh. I'm just going to say them again. For this team in the off-season, a team that got to the playoffs, added Brandon Cooks, Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters, and then Ndamukong Suh.
I won't pay Aaron Donald.
You've just stole my outs, gag. Outs, Sammy Watkins, Tremaine Johnson, Derek Carrier, Neil's hero, Tavon Austin, and any chance Aaron Donald gets a contract before the start of the season. Big question. We've asked it maybe 4 or 5 times in the division previews, Neil. Is it Super Bowl or bust for the LA Rams?
No, because they're setting themselves up with how they've done these contracts. They can support them. They can let this roster grow around Jared Goff. he's got this season and then next season before they probably have to start really thinking about extending him. So I think you can say they've got this season, they've got next season. This season, I think they are the undoubted class of this division. It remains to be seen. As we've spoke before about this offensive genius tag and how it doesn't sit for long, especially when you announce what it is that made you special. I'm setting the play clock 50. I'm setting the play 15 seconds before the play, so you've got plenty of time to say it. Well, that's great, but teams started countering it last season with different looks, disguising their looks, and Jared Goff still got a little bit confused at times. They were still bloody efficient, and obviously they've got Todd Gurley, who is as close to a Marshall Faulk type player as the Rams have had since Marshall Faulk, ironically. One of the top 4 running backs in the NFL, some could argue the best. He certainly reset the running back contract market. They will challenge. They have the defense to challenge. They have the defensive coordinator to challenge. They've got the pieces on offense. They're now playing a first-place schedule, and that's an important difference from what they had last year. But I think this team is brimming with quality, but there are 2 words I will use to slightly temper expectations. Dream team.
Yeah, we won't go back into that one, Neil, because that was only funny when Philadelphia hadn't won a Super Bowl, and because they won one last year, it becomes less funny.
Did they?
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard. Yeah, just go back on every single podcast we've done since February. I think it's been brought up. It's flipping August. I look and I think, is Sean McVay a genius? I think you find out more in the second year than you do in the first year. There's a lot of game film. There's a lot of tape. Don't be surprised to hear random stories in road games of headsets being broken, miscommunications due to the fact that inside Levi Stadium the headsets are broke. I just don't know why. Just randomly the communication between head coach and quarterback's been messed up. Just random. What I will say is, one of our favourite guests ever, and hero, and hopefully a man soon to be wearing the same outfit as his dad, son of Bum Wade Phillips, has many a toy to play with. And I don't know about you, Neil, but the thought of Wade Phillips having if he arrives, Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh fills me with most joy, because that could be lots of fun for LA Rams fans, not lots of fun for the likes of Sam Bradford, for the likes of Jimmy Garoppolo, for the likes of Russell Wilson. By the way, 2 of those 3 teams have possibly 2 of the worst offensive lines in the league. So basically, if anyone listens to around the NFL, Ndamukong Suh basically called his shot that he was going to be the guy who made Sam Bradford not play anymore.
Just one thing to consider as well, as we move forward, and this is a pattern of Wade Phillips' defences, because they're so good up front, and generally they have good corners, which you can argue, obviously, that the Rams have in Talib and Marcus Peters. They can be a bit soft in the middle. So if you are thinking of streaming tight ends at any stage, look to see who the Rams are playing, because if you caught the corners are that good, teams tend to funnel everything inside, and their middle linebackers are not great. Alec Ogletree got traded away, and in his first game for the Giants, David Njoku put a clown suit on him. So just something to consider, that could be a potential weakness for this defense. But it's son of Bum, so.
Yeah, Neil, lots of players to choose from. Who's the fantasy breakout star in the LA Rams?
Shockingly, it's a tight end again. It's one of my boys from last year. It's Gerald Everett. Now, he lost out on playing time in a big way to Tyler Higbee. Now, the Rams played in 11 personnel, so 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back, on 125% of their plays last year. That's all they were. So the problem was, because Tyler Higbee's such a good blocker, he was the tight end of consequence. So it was only when he came out, or they occasionally went to 12, that Gerald Everett got on. Everett is an athletic freak. He was dominant at the college level. It's just a question of, can he get on the field? And when there's so many mouths to feed, is he really going to put up enough numbers? But he's probably one of the few breakouts that I've recommended that he's probably going to be better in Dynasty, so get him and stash him. He may have weeks. It depends on Tyler Higbee. But don't even think about Tyler Higbee because he's just no great shakes at all.
Fancy broke, Neil.
As with many of my fancy brokes, it's not a question of hating the player, it's a question of hating the price. Brandon Cooks at the moment is going as wide receiver 23, going to Fancy Football Calculator. That's far too high for a team that, as I say, it's got Cooper Kupp, it's got Robert Woods. You're going to have to, they're going to involve Todd Gurley in the passing game as well. And if they're going to be winning more games, they're going to run the ball more. So I don't like that ADP, like 5th round for Brandon Cooks. I know he's had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, but they were with Drew Brees and Tom Brady. Jared Goff is not Drew Brees or Tom Brady, however good he was last year. And to an extent, he was the wide receiver on those two teams. He's not now.
Win total, 9.5. As Neil quite rightly pointed out, for those who are unaware, when you win the division the previous year, you get a first place schedule the year after. Ladies and gentlemen, the home and road shows this. Home, Chargers in an LA derby. How cool is that? Vikings, Packers, Chiefs, Eagles. I believe the Eagles is week 14. Mark your calendars appropriately for the number 1 seed battle in that one. Road games, Raiders, Broncos, Saints, Lions and Bears. Road schedule is okay. The home schedule is the issue. But it's at home. So, and I think we didn't really talk about the stadium situation in San Diego last week, because there isn't really one. Where, if they're good and they play the AFC Championship game, half the stadium will be filled with the other team. But, the Rams do have a fan base, more of a fan base than the Chargers, obviously, given the fact that they used to be the LA Rams in the 80s. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility that they have more fans, that they can fill out the Coliseum. That's a good thing. So it's...
Only major issue I have, just quickly, going back to the throwback thing, old fans, lose the silver horns.
Yeah.
Silver horns on the helmet does not look good. Go back to the gold horns, please.
Absolutely. Neil, 9.5, champs or chumps?
Champs, taking the over. Probably going to be certainly making, I think they're going to be in the divisional round at least. It's a question of, as you say, could that week 14 game be a championship? Could that be a seeding decider? Don't know. The Vikings, the Packers, these other teams may have something to say about that. But it's a tough schedule. Dream Team is going to hang over them, or I'm going to hang it over them, believe me. I just think they've got the pieces and they've got tremendous coaching staff. This is coaching staff that's up there with the Eagles, the Patriots, the Vikings, in terms of having the best people possible running the various departments. Because don't forget, this is one of the best special teams in the league as well. And has been for a long time because they had John Fassel. They said, you do the best thing you do so we can be great on offense, we can be great on defense, and know that when it comes to you, you're not going to screw us over. So, yeah, I'm going to take easily 11 wins, I think.
I think they're a double-digit win team. I think they win this division. I think you do too. So therefore, you take the over. As you said, I think if we looked at the best 4 team, we've done the reviews now. We look at the best 4 teams in the NFC. I think we probably think that they are Vikings, Eagles, and then an argument between like Falcons or Packers. So they play 3 of those teams. Mm-hmm. So there is, as you said, major implications around the playoffs for them this year. It's really good that they play them all at home. So you've got to hope that home field advantage works. Tough road game against the Saints, but Raiders, Broncos, Lions and Bears is no great shakes. Bears is late in the year, could be an issue with weather, absolutely. But, I think they dominate Arizona. I think they dominate Seattle. They split against San Francisco. Then, I think it's an 11-12 win team and they're pushing for the 1 seed.
And don't forget, in week 1, they're going to face an Oakland Raiders team that doesn't have Khalil Mack.
Exactly, and I'm sure the Oakland Raiders the Oakland Raiders fans are listening, saying, "Yeah, but we won't face Aaron Donald." Yeah, but you are facing all the other ones.
Yeah, whereas they're facing.
I don't know. You do the depth charts. Next team, Neil, San Francisco 49ers. The change ins Richard Sherman, Weston Richburg, Jarrett McKinnon, and they drafted Mike McGlinchey, tackle from Notre Dame. Outs, Carlos Hyde, Logan Paulson, Aaron Lynch. Big question. Great end to the season, and now they've got Jimmy GQ at quarterback for the full year. What is success for the 49ers this season?
Success is pushing for the playoffs because they've not been there for a few years. This is the first time in 5 seasons, is it, that they're going going into the season with the same coach as they had the previous season. They finished hot. They finished 5-0. It's the longest win streak in the NFL at the moment. But there are a few factors we should consider here. One, Jimmy Garoppolo's touchdown rate was anemic. Yeah, he moved the offense, but he couldn't get them in the red zone. 2, their defense is not great. It doesn't rush the passer particularly well. If Richard Sherman is Richard Sherman, obviously you've improved your pass defense considerably. But if he's lost a step, which I'm not suggesting he has because I've not seen it, and I know, I'm sure he's listening, and I don't need Richard Sherman taking shots at me. But they have weaknesses. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo is obviously a major upgrade on Brian Hoyer and CJ Beathard. We knew that coming in. He's developing a nice rapport with Marquise Goodwin, George Kittle, the other Selleck, Garrett, who friend Ollie Connolly did write about a few weeks ago in glowing terms. I didn't realise this was all about the other Selleck, but a very, very efficient player. They have Jerick McKinnon, who's going to come in. Now, we know Kyle Shanahan can do wonders with running backs. But Jerick McKinnon's never had a history of the type of workload that people seem to be suggesting he's going to get. So they're going to be good. They're going to be competitive. But this is not going to be a 12-14. They're not going to, they're not going to catch the lightning in the bottle they had at the end of last season and go on and sweep through this division, because I just don't think they're as good as the Rams.
Hot take expert says Jimmy GQ hasn't lost and never will. I think what goes unnoticed there is that, as you said, the defense is not great. They were good last year and won games, and I think will win games, giving the link between Jimmy GQ and Kyle Shanahan, same as, Jared Goff and Sean McVay. But as you said, they didn't score a lot of touchdowns. That is a big, big red flag for me. That has to change this year. Have they got the talent to be able to do that? Are they going to rely on big body Pierre Garçon, someone like that, to get him over the line? I don't know. I think they're a decent team. I think they're easily the second best team in this division. Really do. Could they win 9 games? Could they push for the playoffs? Absolutely. But I think a few things need to go their way. The offensive line has to be better. They have to get into the end zone, and they have to make stops. I think they will be in tight games, and given that, Jimmy GQ needs to be Tom Brady, right?
I mean, a 7-9 season would not stun me. It also wouldn't stun me if it was seen as progress.
Well, it is progress.
It would be, yeah.
Basic math suggests that's more than they got last year.
Yeah, I mean, 2013 was the last time the 49ers won more than 9 games. And this is another thing, we've talked about, recent successes being the blip. For much of the 21st century, the San Francisco 49ers have been shite. I don't mean bad, I mean shite. I mean really, really bad.
Yeah, they're not the 49ers that I remember watching on Channel 4.
No, my history of watching the Niners, since I started, was competitive with Jeff Garcia. Then once he and Mooch were out the door, they were awful.
Yeah.
Until John Harbaugh. So
Yeah.
I've only seen the 49ers be competitive for a small period of time.
Of course.
I need to see a bit more evidence that they're going to be back. Obviously, it helps they've got their quarterback. That helps.
Obviously.
They've got some nice pieces on offense, but have they got anyone that you look and think, wow, game changer? No, I don't think they have.
Not yet.
So I think they'll be good. They'll be better, but they're not going to be great.
Who's the fancy breakout star, Neil?
Fancy breakout star is a tight end. And it's George Kittle, again, going very late, tight end 13. Last year, he came on in the offense as Jimmy Garoppolo came in. He led the 49ers in red zone targets with 16. And he scored touchdowns on 23.8% of his receptions over his final 2 seasons at Iowa. So we know he can find the red zone. He could be a huge red zone weapon for them, but also still be useful between the 20s. I mean, we say about some people, he could use him in the red. Tyler Eifert, for example, is pretty much at this stage, he's a red zone weapon. What do you mean he can't run? George Kittle is, again, freakishly athletic. And he does have something of a rapport already with Jimmy Garoppolo. And for how late he's going, I say, another one, you probably don't have to draft him, but keep an eye on him. But one name I will also point out as well, judging by how much more used the slot receiver is becoming, Trent Taylor. He led the 49ers non-fullbacks in catch rate last season, although he cleared 50 yards in just one game. But Jimmy Garoppolo, Tom Brady, look for the white wide receiver. There could be that link there.
Fantasy broke, Neil.
Again, hate the ADP, don't hate the player. Jerick McKinnon. Now, people are expecting him to be the Devonta Freeman in this offense. Well, Devonta Freeman, he had, under Kyle Shanahan, Devonta Freeman averaged 20 touches per game in 2 years. Jerick McKinnon has had 20 touches in 7 games, and he's played nearly 60 in the NFL. He's not built to be a workhorse. He never has been a workhorse. Again, freakishly athletic, really good receiver. He was propped up last year. He set career highs in yards, but that's because the Vikings were that weird team that didn't do an awful lot on the ground, but didn't go away from it. So volume was key for him. I think he'll be a good player, but I just don't like the idea of taking him as running back 15. I mean, running back at the moment is... I've done 2 drafts this week, and I have started first four of my rounds, I've taken running backs. Because I thought going into the 4th round, there were viable starters. If you're taking him at his current ADP, that looks like you're trying to get him as one of your top 2, or someone's trying to get him as one of their top 2. I think he's more of a 3. I could be wrong, because he doesn't really have an awful lot of competition. We don't know what Matt Breida is. Freddie Morris, bless him, is not going to take this job, because they've already said he won't. And we know Kyle Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan will give anyone a chance at running back, that's what the Shanahans do. But if he's come out already and said, no, we know his role, well, he's not going to get the ball. So, his current ADP, I like Jerick McKinnon, but I'll never have any of them because of the price.
Neil, is the Shanahanigans, is that just a Mike phenomenon, not a Kyle? And are we suggesting that you can pick a 49ers running back, whereas you could never pick one for Washington and Denver?
Well, I'll just read out some of the running backs that Kyle Shanahan has had success with, and you tell me where's the pedigree of these names, right? Alfred Morris, Steve Slayton, Devonta Freeman, Carlos Hyde, Roy Halou, and Tevin Coleman. Oh, and Ryan Terrain as well. Not highly regarded players, not high draft picks there, apart from Devonta Freeman, I think was a 4th rounder. Carlos Hyde, I think, was a 2nd rounder as well. But Carlos Hyde was pretty much a busted flush by the time Kyle Shanahan got hold of him. So I do think there's the idea of competition, but when Kyle makes his mind up about a running back, that's the running back he trusts. Whereas with Mike, you never knew week to week.
Win totals 8.5. Home games: Lions, Raiders, Giants, Broncos, Bears. Road games: brace yourself, Marcus Grant and Will Gavin. Vikings, Chiefs, Chargers. That's back-to-back Chiefs and Chargers. Packers, and okay, the Bucks. 8.5, Neil, champs or chumps?
I'm going to take the under. I think it's going to be a low under. I think these will be a bloody good team in 2019. But for now, they'll just have to settle for being a good team. If they were in the AFC, I'd be a lot more hopeful, but they're not. So I'm not.
Yeah, I think it's an 8-8 team. So I'd probably take the under. Probably, I think they'll be in December and be like, ooh, well, if the 49ers win the next 3 games, they got a chance to get to the playoffs, and they won't. Much better. Chance to be consistent. First, let's be honest, it's basically Jimmy Garoppolo's rookie season. Like, he's never played 16 games, doesn't know what it's like. Do you know what I mean? This is new to him. And I think we need to expect sometimes it won't go as well as everyone hopes it will, or the hype suggests it will. So, yeah, they're an 8-8 team.
You'd expect some regression, though, because I say his touchdown rate was 3.9%. I think the league average for quarterbacks with 200 pass attempts last year was around 4.5. So it's going to go up. He's going to play more games, but they need to be more ruthless in the red zone because field goals aren't going to cut it.
No, they need to put down that Jay Gruden offensive handbook. Final team in this, Neil. The former dominant team in this division over the past 7 or 8 years, the Seattle Seahawks. Change. Yeah, okay, we'll get to that. Ins, Ed Dixon, DJ Fluker, J.R. Sweezy, great name. Seabass and Rashard Penny, running back San Diego State. Although, as we'll soon find out, getting beaten out by an unrestricted free agent. Out. Anybody used to be good on the Seattle Seahawks, with the exception of Russell Wilson, it looks like here. Michael Bennett, Sheldon Richardson, Thomas Rawls, Paul Richardson, Jimmy Graham. A big question for the Seattle Seahawks, Neil, is are we about to find out how many wins Russell Wilson can get on his own?
Well, we better not do. Otherwise, there'll be none.
They're not exactly talent rich anymore, Neil, are they? Like, the team was designed very well by John Snyder and Pete Carroll, and bad things have happened subsequently. Not bad. That's not true, actually. The teams, let's just, as a thought experiment, forget that the New England Patriots exist. Teams go through ups and downs, cycles. Teams aren't good forever. It's a 5, when you're good, it's usually a 5-6 year window. And sometimes it can be extended by having a franchise quarterback and maybe a couple of other talented players around, Green Bay, for example. But even Green Bay haven't made the playoffs in 3 out of the last 4 years or something like that. So, I just look and think, what's going to go on for them. I fear this is that Russell Wilson may get killed this year. They may have signed a couple of offensive linemen, but they're not any good. And the defense is now worse. I don't know what to make of the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, let's just have a look at this. Richard Sherman is gone. Cam Chancellor is gone. Cliff Averill is gone. Michael Bennett is gone. Sheldon Richardson is gone. Earl Thomas isn't there. Tell me that defense is better without them. You can't. So one thing we knew about the Seattle Seahawks under Pete Carroll and John Schneider was you couldn't score on them. So they didn't have to score thousands of points to beat you. Now they're going to have to get into shootouts. And who better to come in and orchestrate a shootout-needing team than Brian Schottenheimer?
Yeah, I think we need to stop and think about that. Like, I love Pete Carroll. Like, if people have been listening to this show since its inception, people are aware of my love of the fast and loose ways of Pete Carroll. Okay, not exactly someone I'd want, managing my army, but love him to give me high fives and give me a pep talk. However, what in God's name is he thinking when he sees the likes of Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan in his division? He's a defensive coach, and decides he wants Brian Schottenheimer as his offensive coordinator. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Neil, because it could be because he may have done a bad job subsequent to the St. Louis Rams as they were there, then under Jeff Fisher. But just because he was the offensive coordinator when the Rams used to beat Seattle 9-6 does not make him a good offensive coordinator. Actually, he only got 9 points, Pete. That means he's not a very good offensive coordinator.
And also, don't get me wrong, he was the offensive coordinator of 2 Jets teams that went to the AFC Championship. The difference with that, of course, was that they had a good running game with a good offensive line that could hide a quarterback. You don't need to hide this quarterback. Turn it over to him, protect him.
Let's all be brutally honest as well. There's many things that got that team to the Super Bowl, and none of them start with offense.
No.
So to the AFC title game. Okay, you know what I mean? They were defense-led teams. They were Darrelle Revis defense-led teams. They weren't led by who was on offense? Mark Sanchez and who?
Santonio Holmes kicked out of his own huddle.
Exactly. So
I just think it's as you say. Some teams have just embraced the idea of youth, new ideas. I've just read Doug Peterson's book Fearless, in which he says. It's a really good book. I highly recommend it. It's for team building and philosophies of leadership, because he's played under some very, very good coaches. Don Shula, Mike Holmgren, Andy Reid. He must have picked up a few things from these people. One of the things he said was it was fighting the they think mentality of, oh, you can't do that. Says who? So it's like, oh no, you can't go for it on 4th down. Well, I'm gonna. I guarantee this. They've obviously they've got rid of John Ryan. They've brought in some other kid with a big leg. The Seahawks will have the most punts this season because they may get to 4th and 1 occasionally, but Schottenheimer will not push the button on it because he can't. They have not got an offensive line that can give them enough push to get them 1 yard. It's absolute garbage. You bring in an offensive coordinator who's got no passing game pedigree at all. You give him a crap offensive line. You draft a running back in the 1st round that shouldn't have been drafted in the 1st round, and you can't even beat out Chris Carson. I'm sorry, someone's going to have to explain to me the sense behind any of that.
It doesn't make any sense, Neil. It doesn't make any sense. We could do this forever, but spending far too much time on the Seahawks as it is. Who's the fancy breakout star on the Seahawks?
Well, with the news that Doug Baldwin's going to be 80% all season, this just makes Tyler Lockett all the more attractive. I mean, as attractive as it can be. I mean, I'm just going to use it's not an exact quote, but Brian Schottenheimer said, we want to run when they expect us to run and run when they don't expect us to run. What the hell are you talking about, you muppet? But anyway, Russell Wilson's going to have to throw to someone. They lost a lot of targets. Jimmy Graham, who was basically their short yardage back, as Evan Silver says, and Paul Richardson. So Tyler Lockett should see more. He saw career highs last year, I think, in targets, although his yards per catch were career lows. But he was a year removed from a broken leg. He'll be fully fit now. He's potential to take the top off the defence. So if they can protect him for long enough, Wilson might be able to use him downfield. And as I say, his usage should go up, especially if Doug Baldwin's not fit. So considering he's wide receiver 54 at the moment, and you can get him in the 12th to 13th round, I don't think it's I think there's worse dart throws than Tyler Lockett.
Who's fancy broke, Neil?
Rashard Penny. If you come in as a 1st round draft pick and are getting beaten out by an undrafted free agent or a 7th round draft pick, whatever he was the year before, who was better than the other backs but wasn't great, then I'm sorry, questions have to be asked. Now, he did come out with San Diego State and he had a monster season last year. Yeah, Donnell Pumphrey had a monster season the year before, and what a glittering NFL career Donnell has had. And plus, let's also factor in the fact that for 3 years, Rashard Penny could not beat out Donnell Pumphrey. This gives me no faith at all. Now, Brian Schottenheimer does not use his main running back as the passing down back, so that means Penny isn't even going to get the goal, isn't going to get the looks in the receiving game as well. I just think running back 31, he's going as. So again, it's that idea of, if you want to start running back heavy, people are looking at him. I don't understand why. Because even if he does win the job outright, what's the upside here? Volume, yeah, that's great. But if he gets 100 carries for 100 yards, what's the point?
I don't think there is much point to that. Win total, Neil, and I'm going to go on a betting website that is the same amount of number of days in the year to redouble check this, because I have right now on my screen, and it's still the same, that the over under for the Seattle Seahawks is 8.5. That is the same as the San Francisco 49ers. I think, if I remember correctly, Neil, I'm just going back to a previous preview show, that is more wins than the Kansas City Chiefs are expected to get. They have home games against the Cowboys, the Chargers, the Packers, the Vikings, and the Chiefs. They have road games against the Broncos, the Bears, the Raiders, the Lions, and the Panthers. So to be fair, not exactly difficult. However, it is difficult when you lack talent at a basic level. Champs or chumps, Neil?
That win total is a lifetime achievement award, as far as I'm concerned. It has no relevance to what they've done lately. Now, last year they went 9-7 and were terrible for large parts of it because Russell Wilson can't do everything himself. Did lead the league in touchdown passes, but he was their offense. If you think back to the dark, dark days of the Eagles' offense when it was just Donovan McNabb, just take that a notch up. That's what Wilson
Happier
was.
Times.
He was brilliant, Wilson, but God, protect him. Give him some help. They went, according to Warren Sharp, say strength of schedule, Maven. They had the second easiest schedule in the NFL last year. They've got the third toughest this year. Pete Carroll said, he's not here for, he doesn't consider this a rebuilding job. It's a reloading. Well, when you go 4-12, mate, it's going to be a rebuild. So, wouldn't be surprised if this is the end of the road for the Pete Carroll Seahawks. Which
will be a shame. Well, considerably older than you'd think.
Oldest coach in the NFL.
Exactly.
Oldest head coach.
Which is shocking. When you see him, he doesn't look like that.
Oh, God, no. He looks heavier than me.
Let's be brutally honest, Neil. For me, this is in the win total game. This is bet of the year, and it's not even close. We've seen a number of other bets where you're like, oh, yeah, slightly over, slightly under. Right? Oh yeah, they're 8.5. We say they'll be 8 or 9. Like this is a 5-win team. Like somehow Vegas are giving me 3.5 wins to play about with. Like okay, you might beat Arizona home and away. I don't see them winning another division game. They might do. Is this a 12 thing, Neil? Is this this team wins 6 games at home every year without fail. So therefore, all you've got to do is win 3 games on the road. Maybe it is, but I don't see it. I don't see the team. Our mate, Andy Symes, been on the show, massive Seahawks fan. He doesn't see 8.5. I'm not sure Rob Stanton sees 8.5.
I just think as well, if you're going to lose all them pieces on defence, you better have the horses to be in a shootout, and they haven't.
Exactly, and when they have a wonderful wide receiver, probably the most underrated wide receiver, the issue now becomes is he's already saying he's managing an injury throughout the whole season. We haven't had week 4 of the preseason yet. Yeah,
because we know how well that type of action usually works. I'm managing it. You mean you're knackered? I mean, if you had, if this was any other occupation, you would not go to work. But because of the mentality and mindset, he will go in, he will put himself on the line, and he will underperform. And, it could come back. It'll come back to bite him when, they're up against the cap or whatnot. At the end of the season, they say, oh, your numbers were down, Doug. Do you want to take a pay cut?
Exactly.
This team has really, really angered me. It's the last team, 30 to 31 teams I've been able to speak. I've been a bit jovial about most of them. I've had something positive to say about them. What can I say positive about the Seahawks? Absolutely nothing. They will lead the league in punting average. There we go. That's your lot, Hot 12s. Well done.
I could say stuff, but what's the point? I think we're both clear on what we think on this division. Rams win. 49ers second. Bottom feeders, Seahawks and Cardinals. Probably with the Cardinals at the bottom. But, you know,
Could be a toss-up.
Could be a toss-up. What we are clear on is we think that Vegas are mad on 8.5. Really crazy on 8.5. So if you do bet, first of all, bet responsibly. But responsibly bet on that.
If you can bet responsibly with someone else's money. That's always a safe strategy as well.
Infinitely better, Neil, right? So, Neil, we are done with the wrap-up, with the division previews. That's all the divisions in the bag. If you want to listen to them, all available on iTunes, all available on Spreaker, all available on YouTube. Pick them up, give it a listen, see what you think. Next week, Neil, the business ends. We get down to business. We're going to give some picks out. Each division winner. We're going to talk about who's going to get to the AFC title game, who's going to get to the NFC title game, who's going to win the Super Bowl, so we can be completely and utterly wrong, and we'll do some individual awards as well. And then we'll obviously focus on making sure you get what you need in terms of fancy darling and fancy loser and our DFS teams of the week.
This is why we lift all those weights.
Literally, Neil, this is why we've lifted all them weights. We're over the pre-season and it's game time. These top guys are out and ready for week 1.